Hello guys, thanks for joining this session. In this session, we are going to learn about Seaborn plot. So mainly in this session, I am going to give you the overview about the Seaborn plot. So we will come to know about what actually the Seaborn plot is, how it is different from the matplotlib, and why should we use Seaborn plot on top of matplotlib. So let's jump into the Jupyter notebook where we will start our discussion. So we will start our discussion with the understanding of what actually Seaborn is. So in a very simple term, Seaborn is also a data visualization library within Python, and Seaborn library built on top of matplotlib. It gives us the capability to create amplified data visuals, and those visuals helps us to understand the data by displaying it in a visual context that will help us to understand the correlation between different variables which exist within the raw data. One point I wanted to tell you over here is Seaborn has a high level interface as compared to the low level of matplotlib. So here low level means matplotlib API is relatively low level. That means it is doing sophisticated statistical visualization, requires you to write some code and then perform the visualization activity using the matplotlib. But if you are going to use the Seaborn library, that is a high level libraries which provides an API on top of matplotlib that offers to plot various style, color, simple high level function for common statistical plot type will be achieved without writing extra line of code if you are using the Seaborn plot library. So to understand the difference between the data visualization of matplotlib as well as the data visualization of Seaborn, what I am going to do, I am going to write a program where I will generate some random number and then I will plot it with matplotlib, as well as the same generated number I will plot with Seaborn library. Then you will easily make the difference between which library is giving more visual appeal and which data visualization library you should choose on top of other data visualization library. So let's start writing the code. Over here I am going to write first import numpy as np as usual. I am going to use the data frame, so for that I need to use pandas as pd, which you already know that. Next I am going to create a data frame on the basis of the random state. So there is a function or say method available within the numpy which we will use to generate the data range, and the name of the method is random state, and which is into numpy random module, and the method I am going to use random state, and I will tell that 0 over here. And then I am going to generate the x with the help of linspace, which we have already seen in one of our example. And here we will specify that I want from 0 to 10 and I want 500 values. Next I am going to generate the y point, and that is also going to be based upon, there is another method of numpy that is comsum that is used to generate the cumulative sum. So let me write it over here. I am going to use the range over here, range dot randn, and over here I need to specify 500, 6, 0. So this will give us 2 points, that is for data for x and data for y. So 2 array we will get 2D array. Now using this data I am going to visualize the generated data on matplotlib. So to use it I am going to use matplotlib. So let me import it, matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and now I am going to visualize the generated data on the pyplot. So let's write plt.plot, and here I need to specify the generated number x and y, and this time I am also going to print the legend. So let me write that. I can tell that a b c d e f number of column equal to 2 loc, where I want to print, I want upper left it should be printed the detail about the legend. So now do shift enter and let's look into the output. We did a mistake over here, comma, shift enter, and then you will find that the data which is being generated, it has drawn into the matplotlib data visualization library. So if you look into this particular data visualization, there is nothing wrong in it, but the thing is it looks very old way of representation and it doesn't look very appealing. So now I am going to generate the same graph using Seaborn, and then you will see the difference between the matplotlib data visualization versus Seaborn data visualization. So the first step, you need to import Seaborn library, import Seaborn as SNS. So this is the industry standard practice. Whenever you are using Seaborn, you should use alias as SNS. So it is industry wide, most of the people are using the same alias, so you should also follow the same pattern. Now the next step, you need to set the Seaborn library as a default library to display the graphs. So how you will do that? You need to specify sns.set. So that means you are now onwards you are going to use Seaborn as a default library for data visualization in this Jupyter notebook. So now let's plot the same thing, but this time with the Seaborn library. So I haven't done any changes. Now let's do shift enter. I have just copy and pasted over here. Now do the shift enter, and then you will find the visual difference between Seaborn plot as well as the matplotlib. And you will find that this looks more appealing than this matplotlib. If any of you doing the data analysis with R programming language, then R programming language offers us something called ggplot. There we use ggplot for data visualization, and this Seaborn looks exactly the same like ggplot data visualization. For some of you people think that, okay, so what actually the difference? You are getting some of the grid instead of some of the background is not coming for matplotlib. Then I will tell that it is just not limited to the visual appealing. There are various internal methods which will be very helpful for data visualization using Seaborn library. In the upcoming session, I will show you various graphs, types of graphs by purpose that will be very handy to visualize the data and get the information about the data, which is very tough if you are using matplotlib. To achieve such kind of a visualization, you need to write some of the initial code, and then only you will get the representation of that particular data visualization. And with the Seaborn, we will achieve those functionality by writing single line of code. So now let's proceed further, and we will discuss about variety of plot types that we can easily generate with the Seaborn by writing a single line of code. So now let's take a look some of the plot types that is available in the Seaborn. So the first plot we are going to look into is the histogram plot. So let me write it over here, histogram, shift enter. Now let's generate some data. So for that I am going to tell that data D, and this is going to be multivariate, and that is from the random package. There is a method called multivariate normal distribution. So it will generate the data which is normally distributed. So here I need to specify the range. So this will give us the normally distributed data, and that is going to be numpy array. So I want it as a data frame. So I will tell that df equal to pd dot data frame, and here I will pass the numpy array. So this line of code will give me the data frame. So it has generated the data frame. Let's look into the data frame, what it has generated. So you will find that it has generated this data. So it has generated 2000 records over here, and which is being distributed between these given range, and that is normally distributed. So how do we confirm that the data which it has generated that is normally distributed? So here I am going to use histogram plot to verify the distribution of the data, generated data. So let's generate the histogram plot. So here I am going to generate histogram with kernel density estimation plot, that is KDE, for plotting the smoothness. So to draw the histogram I am going to use Seaborn dist plot method, and this will generate histogram as well as KDE plot. KDE stands for kernel density estimation. It will give us the smooth graph. So let's look into that, and here I will specify data frame and the column which I want to plot. Same is the case with this one, SNS dist plot. Again I need to specify the data frame and which column I want to use. So here I am going to use Y. Now do the shift enter, and then you will find that it has generated the histogram plot with the KDE, that is kernel density estimation plot. And you will find that the data which we have generated with the help of this multivariate, that is a normally distributed data, because it is making this shape that is called bell curve shape. And this kind of shape of data represents that in a real world scenario your data is not having biased value. In the upcoming session we are going to discuss about all these concepts, the shape and the size of the data, what actually the significance of this kind of a shape. For example, this shape is coming little left side of the graph, then what it means. If the same data is coming extreme right of the graph, then what it means. Why it is always good to have the normally distributed data. These things we will learn about when we discuss about data analysis core concepts. So this is one of the graph which you can also generate with the help of Seaborn library. So on this note I am stopping over here. In the next session onwards I am going to discuss about various types of graphs with their purpose. That means which graph is going to be used for what purpose. So see you in the next session with more in-depth discussion about the types of graph with their purposes. So see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.